Hey, it's great to be here in Winchester, Virginia. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It really is an honor to be here. We love this part of the country, and we actually have a lot of memories here in the Virginia area. This is the only state where we have been snowed in on a Christmas vacation. Yeah, we got to within a half mile of our condo, and then the rental car lost traction, and we had to be picked up by the ski patrol and delivered to our condo because we had kids going to Liberty University. And so we decided to come do Christmas vacation here. And we have had several great ministry opportunities here in Virginia. So we're quite excited to be with you. And we're excited to talk to you about relationships because we know that all of us in the room, we tend to evaluate the quality of our life based upon how our relationships are going. And most of our best memories in life come through relationships. For instance, I've got a good friend, when his son was 8 years old, they had gathered in the kitchen to make dinner together. And this young boy is watching his dad work, and he wants to be like his dad. So while he's watching his dad work, he reaches up on the counter and he pulls a jar off the counter and wants to help his dad out. He tries to get the lid off this jar, and he cannot get the jar open. So in frustration, he looked at his dad and he said, "Dad, can you help me out here?" And Dad took the jar, took the lid right off. And his son looked at him and said, "Dad, how come I couldn't get the jar open?" He said, "Well, son, this jar that you took off, it has a child-proof cap on it." Little boy thought for a moment. He said, "Dad, how did it know it was me?"
God knows you. God knows all about your life. And he is here to give you a postcard from heaven, a Post-it note from heaven to your home, from heaven to your heart.
Right. And the reason why relationships are so important to us, folks, is relationships are on the heart of God. There's only one place I know of in the Bible where eternal life is defined. It's John chapter 17, verse 3. And Jesus said, "Now this is eternal life, that they may know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent." So the one place where eternal life is defined, it's not a destination, it's not a length of time, it's a relationship with God and with his Son, Jesus Christ. And because relationships are that important to God, and we've been made in his image, relationships matter to us. And so it's useful for all of us to continually learn about how relationships work. And so we're thrilled to be here to just be part of that conversation with all of you. And we're mostly going to be focused in on how do we work with our differences. Because we know that we marry what we don't have. Like, we are different from one another, and these differences, they fascinate us. Like I personally am really glad that Pam looks like a woman. That has been the source of a lot of joy in my life. Now, there are times I'd like to come over and rearrange the way she thinks so that I understand her a little bit better. But if she had to give up the way she looks in order to get that ability, I would forego it in a heartbeat. Because these differences, they fascinate us, but they also frustrate us. And we know that these differences are deliberate. Because at the very beginning of the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, we read these words. "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them." Now, most people at this point say, "Okay, Bill and Pam, we get this." Like, we look around the room, some of us in the room are obviously male. Some of you in the room are obviously female. Like, we get this. Like, we're different. We're male and female. But we discovered that the question that people were really asking is, what do we do with these differences? Like, how do we make these differences work for us? And so Pam and I went looking for a word picture that would help men and women know how to work with these differences that God built into the human race. And the picture we came up with, of course, is that men are like waffles.
And women are like spaghetti.
Okay, so let me start with the men. If you were to diagram the way a typical man processes information in life, it looks like the top of a waffle. There's a lot of boxes. All those boxes are separated from one another by walls. And the way we as men operate is the first issue in life goes in the first box, second issue goes in the second box, third issue goes in the third box, and so on. And we as men, we spend time in one box at a time and one box only. So when a man is at work, he is at work. When a man is in the yard doing yard work, he is in the yard doing yard work. When a man is watching TV,
Hello?
He's watching TV. We do one thing at a time and one thing only. Now, as men mature, we do jump boxes faster than we used to. So at times we kind of imitate multitasking. But in reality, we're just jumping from one box to another faster than we used to. And because of this single focus that us men bring to life, we are problem solvers by nature. The way that we like to operate is we go into a box, figure out what the problem is, assign a solution, and then we move on. And if we get to a box and we see what the problem is and we don't know what the solution is, we just move on. Because we cannot possibly think of a reason to spend time on a problem that we have no solution for. And folks, for part of your life, this is really valuable. Because everything in life benefits from this single focus that men bring. Your family benefits from that single focus that we naturally have. The workforce benefits from that single focus. The church, the community, all benefit from this single focus that us men can bring. But it does create tension in your most important relationships because you ladies just do not process like a waffle.
Yeah, so we women, we function like a plate of spaghetti. If you follow one noodle around a plate of spaghetti, it looks like it touches pretty much every other noodle on the plate. And that's the way our mind works, is everything touches everything else. So we are multitaskers by nature. We can be on the phone with our friend and her life's all falling apart, and we're watching Oprah and there's Dr. Phil and he's saying, how's that working for you? So we're like, how's that working for you, hon? Yeah, you should come to the Embrace Marriage Conference. That church is like so nice. And and they'll like take really good care of you. At the same time that we're talking on the phone, we're talking to our kids in sign language, like, quit fighting, can't you see I'm on the phone? We have a load in the washer, a load in the dryer, we're cooking dinner, and we can open and shut the oven door with our foot, can't we, girls?
Well,
yes.
Let's hear it for the ladies, huh? It's amazing. And ladies, we really do admire this about you, but at times it gets really confusing to us. Because sometimes you have conversations with us that sound like, hey, honey, how's your truck running? You know, I thought about your truck today because I drove by your favorite truck store because, well, I was on my way to go get this new outfit because I found this outfit that I knew was going to look really good on me because it was my color. Because last year at church we learned all about what colors look good on you and what colors don't look good on you. And I figured I was kind of a fall color. And so I found this outfit that I knew was going to look really good on me. And it's always a good thing because if I know I look good, then my confidence level's higher. And if my confidence level's up, I think a little bit clearer. And if I think clearer, then I'm easier to get along with and understand. And besides, it was on sale. So I was really excited to share it with you because I love when you go, oh, baby, you look really good in that. And you know, it was really kind of funny. It was a fall color. It looked very similar to the outfit that Mrs. Trump was wearing during the inauguration. I think that's kind of funny that, you know, me and Mrs. Trump kind of share the same color palette, but you don't really care about all that. But I know you're really into sports, and you know, on that fall palette also is kind of like a dark orange, which is kind of like the Commanders color. And so, you know, I'm all excited about that. I'm really sad though that the Commanders didn't make it, and it kind of reminded me, you know, them not making it because I know they got that great quarterback, and he's just a rookie, but he was going to be able to take them to the Super Bowl, and I know that's really disappointing to some of you guys, and it reminded me of the last Winter Olympics that we watched, where those German, you know, they had that race going around. There were three ladies taking turns leading, and that one, she just fell down at the end. Did you see that? Like, I know they won the race, but she fell down, slid across the finish line. I thought that was so sad, and it reminded me that a lot of our friends have been falling down in their life also. So you think we could just take a moment and pray for our friends? Now, ladies, when you have conversations that sound like that, as men, we are frantically jumping boxes, trying to figure out where this conversation is going. And while you think we're praying for the friends, what we're really thinking is, so what about my truck? Because we figured you brought it up for a reason and we can't figure out what it is. And ladies, there are a couple of other things that is good to keep in mind if you want to relate well with the men in your life. Whether it's your husband, your dad, your kids. Some of the boxes in every man's waffle, there's thoughts rolling around inside there, but they don't translate into sentences. So sometimes men just make noises. You're like, whoa, yeah. And having raised three boys, like, we get this. I was driving around town one day. One of my kids in the back seat went, ah! And I went, what? He went, nothing, Dad. I just wanted to say that. And then the other thing you want to keep in mind is that a few of the boxes on every man's waffle actually look like this right here. There are no thoughts. There are no words. And we as men, we park in these blank boxes. I'm sure you've seen it before. And we don't know how you do it, ladies. You must have some kind of radar. Because every time we get in these blank boxes, you ask the dreaded question.
So, what you thinking, hon?
Which is a really hard question for us, ladies, because we tried telling you the truth. We said nothing. And your response is, well, you can't be thinking nothing. You have to be thinking something. So what is it? And ladies, I am here to tell you that every man I have ever met has the ability to think absolutely
Nada.
nothing. Am I right, guys? And quite honestly, ladies, we didn't know this was a problem until we met you. Because we've been doing this since we were little kids, and we thought it was a really nice place to go. Okay, and so since the truth didn't work real well, next time you ask the question, there's a delay that takes place, and our eyes start darting back and forth, because we're looking for a box somewhere nearby that has words in it, so that we can answer your question, and then you misinterpret the delay. And you think, oh, you don't want to share what you're really thinking, so now you're making something up. No, we were probably just thinking nothing. And on a little bit of a serious note, folks, over time, men tend to start feeling inadequate when it comes to relationships. Because no kidding, ladies, we will drop into these blank boxes right in the middle of a conversation. You'll be talking about, so what do you think? About what? See, and then we're in trouble with you, and we think, oh, we're not very good at this. And men don't like to work at what they're not good at. We want to work at what we are good at. So men will not develop fully in the communication side, and the relationship doesn't reach its potential. Now, ladies, I would never put all this on you. Because men, we need to grow, we need to mature, we need to get better at our communication skills, because it's a wise thing to do. But ladies, if you can make room in the relationship for these blank boxes, we will literally change our opinion about you. And we will start to think things like, most of the women I've ever met, they don't get it. But this one, she gets it. And if we ever reach that conclusion about you, we'll be convinced we can succeed with you, and we will find it easy to interact with you.
So men are like waffles, women like spaghetti. We relate differently. The way we communicate is very different.
And Pam and I have discovered that specifically in marriage, but it also happens in family relationships, but specifically in marriage, we have noticed there's an assumption that most couples live with that is not exactly correct. The assumption is most of our conversations are going to go well for both of us at the same time. And we know where that came from, because when you were dating, you upped your game. Like you made sure you were communicating, and you hear things like, oh, we get on the phone and we can just talk for hours. We can talk about anything. And we assume it's going to go like that forever. Well, when you take a relationship, you add a bunch of responsibility on it, that process starts to change. And so let me illustrate with you what's normal in a long-term relationship just with our home. There are some conversations in our home that I've noticed, Pam, go really well for you. And there's other conversations in the home
They go really well for you.
Yeah. And there's a few conversations that go well for both of us at the same time. Folks, that is normal. So one of the best skills you can work into your relationships is to learn to take turns when it comes to communication. So men, when it's her turn to talk, and you will know it's her turn because she will say, let's talk. Okay? First thing you want to do, turn off that fix-it mechanism you were born with. Remember I told you, as men, we're all problem solvers. So you tend to do the same thing that I do. When your wife comes to you and says, honey, can we talk? You're like, bring it on. Because you're going to size up the problem. You're going to apply your male solution to it. You're going to be her hero for the day. It all is going to be right in the world. Okay, all that fix-it stuff, guys, just turn it off. Pack up your bags and go on a listening journey with her and let her take the conversation anywhere she wants it to go. Now, I get a lot of reactions from men when I share this. First reaction I tend to get is, Bill, you do not understand what you are asking. Because if I give my wife permission to talk like that, she will never stop talking. Okay, guys, it's not true. She will finish, and you'll know she's done because she'll do something like... And she may even say something to you that sounds like...
Oh, you understand me like nobody else.
Which I happen to know is not true. But I really like that look right there, so I just go with it. Okay, the second question we tend to get is, oh, Bill, what's the point? You know, we started talking about vacation, and as we were talking... like her mom got into the conversation, and then her mom has a cousin named Karen, and Karen has a 17-year-old daughter, and that 17-year-old daughter is hanging out with some people that are not really good influences on her, and we have a 17-year-old daughter, and we're worried about our daughter. Should she be hanging out with other? I thought we were talking about vacation. What is the point of this conversation? So for you, those of you men who need to know what the point of the conversation is, the point is to help her finish. That's it. Just help her finish.
But not by saying, give me the headlines, cut to the chase. What's the bottom line here? Bullet points, please.
Yeah. Now, there is an important reason. Like, guys, we're not just asking you, like, to do something difficult and, just, like, take one for the team. It's not that way. Okay? The reason why this is important is the way that God wired females is if you are important to her, she has an internal desire to connect her life to you, because if she can get enough of her life connected to you and keep it connected, you become a trustworthy person in her life. It's one of the primary ways that women build trust, is if they can connect with you, tell you what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they would have done if they had to do it different. She wants to share with you what her sister said and what her mom had to say. The reason why she's sharing all that with you is not to get all of your input. She's connecting her life to you. Because it's one of the primary ways that she builds trust in relationships. Like, this applies if you have a daughter also. Like, we had the opportunity to have one of our nieces live with us for a year while she was going to college. I thought we were providing a room for her to stay. I didn't realize I was signing up to be the most influential male in her life. And so she would, if I took time over breakfast to 20 minutes. If I spent 20 minutes just interacting with her, she was good for the day. If I didn't interact with her at breakfast, she'd show up at my office because I was working on the same campus as she was going to school at. So she'd come in and she'd go, "Hi, Uncle Bill." And if I didn't have time for her, she'd go, "Okay," and she'd leave. She'd come back again. "Hi, Uncle Bill." And if I gave her 20 minutes, she was good for the day. So guys, if you want your wife to trust you, if you want your daughters to trust you, if you want the significant ladies in your life to trust you, giving them the opportunity to connect her life to you raises the trust level and makes it work. And as guys, I understand this is a learned skill for us. Like, sir, what's your first name? Joaquin. Joaquin, it's great to meet you, Joaquin. Okay, I'm not likely to walk up to you this morning and go, "Joaquin, I want to hear all about your week. I want to know everything you did, everything you felt, your victories." We're not going to do that. Okay, did you have a good week? Excellent. See, Joaquin's good. Right, he's an upstanding guy. If he wasn't good, he would have told me. I get it. So as guys, we don't do this with each other. So it's a learned skill that we have to pick up when we get into a significant relationship with one of these beautiful creatures that God created.
So women like to take a journey. So guys, pack up your bags and go on that listening journey. So what is the gift that we women can give to our husbands then? Men like to stay in the box. And we women have more words per day than the average guy, so we can basically out-talk them. And so because they don't process life the same way we process life, we think something's like wrong with them, like they're broken. And the best illustration that I saw of this was a cartoon. And there was this man, and his niece came up to him and said, "Oh, Uncle, everything you did just totally changed my life." And he picked up a business card and he handed it to her. He said, "You can take this down the petroleum store. They'll give you 10% off of your gasoline." And the wife saw the whole interaction. She's like, "Okay, are niece was pouring out her heart and you handed her a business card? You have no feelings? He's like, I had feelings. I was afraid she was going to hug me. I was scared it was going to go on, and I was happy when it was over. I have feelings. Guys really do have feelings, but they're buried in the very bottom of every one of those waffle boxes. Just like syrup would sink to the bottom of every square on a Belgian waffle, the sweetest part of a guy is at the very bottom of every one of his waffle boxes. We women just are impatient listeners. We were in youth ministry when we started, and so Bill did a lot of weddings because we were in charge of the college department. And so one woman, she came to me, and she's like, I'm so excited to get married. My fiance, he's like a really handsome man. He's so godly. He's good looking. He's a great provider. But I think something's wrong with him. I'm kind of scared to get married. And I'm like, you're scared? And she's like, yeah, I think like at university they call it emotionally shallow. And I just started to smile. The reason why she thought he was emotionally shallow is she just hadn't found his favorite easy box. Because guys like to live in, dwell in, camp out in their favorite easy box. And the way to a guy's heart is to get into that favorite easy box and converse. And so I said, well, tell me about your fiance, because I'm looking for his favorite easy box for her. And she's like, he's a race car driver. And I said, there you go, baby girl, you just get yourself into the garage, and when he's talking, you just repeat key phrases to keep him talking. She's like, all right. So she goes into the garage, and he's working on the race car, so he's torquing this, and he's tweaking that. He's talking about rods and pistons and flywheels, and she's dutifully repeating back car parts, but she doesn't have a clue what she's talking about, but she's repeating back those car parts. All of a sudden, he comes out from underneath the car. He puts his hand on the hood, and he says, nobody has ever cared about me like this. Nobody's ever taken the time to love me like you love me. Honey, I'm so excited to get married to you. I want to build us a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a wraparound porch, and I'll put up a swing set for the kids that we'll have one day, and I'll hang up a front porch swing, and every day when I come home from work, I'll bring you a skinny vanilla latte, and I'll wrap my arms around you, and I'll listen to your heart as you unpack your day. As the sun sets over the mountains, she told me, I never want to leave the garage again. Because she found the key to unlock her guy's heart. Find the box he feels comfortable, successful in, and park yourself in it and become a great listener. We women, because our minds are like spaghetti, what happens too often is a guy brings up a subject. He actually thinks it's that subject that you're going to talk about. But because we're like spaghetti, we see the 5 or 6 other boxes that are surrounding that first box, and we just start opening up boxes. And the problem with that is men are problem solvers by nature. And so when they have one box open, that's one problem to solve. When they have 2 boxes open, that's 2 problems to solve. When they have 3 boxes open, that's 3 problems to solve, and so on. And every male has a limit on how many boxes he can have open at one time. And we're going to know if we get too many boxes open, girls, because one of 2 things is going to happen. He's either going to fire up and become angry, or he's going to shut that box down and like flee to one of his favorite boxes like the garage, and nobody's needs are getting met there. And so the gift that we can give is to find his favorite box, stay in that favorite box, and become a great listener.
Well, folks, what we've been talking with you about is how to live out. Wow, you get an ovation. Wow. How to live out Romans 15:7 in your relationships. Romans 15:7 says, accept one another then, just as Christ accepted you, in order to bring praise to God. And I don't want you to miss this. When you have the attitude that, I'm going to accept you for who God created you to be, things start to happen. First of all your relationships start to work better, because anytime you cooperate with the way God created us, things work better. But also the praise of God starts to settle in on your home. And you start to have a relationship with you and your spouse and the God who created you, and he gives you a love for each other that is literally stronger than you could develop on your own. So it's a very powerful attitude to accept one another as God has created us. Now, that doesn't mean that you accept a lot of bad behavior. Like, I think you'd all agree with Pam and I. We're big fans of spiritual growth, maturity in life. Like, all of us should have the goal that we're going to be better a year from now than we are today. We're going to be better 2 years from now than we are a year from now, because growth is an important part of walking in this planet. But just because we're all supposed to grow doesn't mean everything is supposed to change. Like, there are some uniquenesses that God built into the human race that are intentional and need to be taken advantage of. And let me just give you a few examples. Like, just as you can look around and physically see that we're different, there's physical differences that you cannot see. Like, physical differences under the skin that affect the way we operate in our relationships. For instance, did you know that when a man solves a problem, he uses one side of his brain? Could be the right side or the left side, but whatever side he starts on, he stays on that side of his brain until that problem has been solved. You ladies, if you face the same problem, use both sides of your brain at the same time. The reason for that is that all of you ladies in the room have exponentially more connections between the two sides of your brain than us men do. That when us men were in the womb, there was a testosterone bath that took place. It severed some of the connections between the two sides of the brain and sent out a signal for other connections not to develop. Now, at this point, there's usually a female in the room who wants to blurt out, "See, I knew they were handicapped." But I just want to point out, as men, we just simplified the process because studies show that men and women solve problems equally well. We just do it differently. And it shows up pretty early in life. Like, there was a very interesting study done with kids and a trampoline.
And so they brought this trampoline into a room, and they wanted to study how boys and girls play. So they didn't give any directions. And so they brought the little girls into the room with the trampoline first, and immediately one of the little girls became like the leader of the group, and she was the timekeeper, and she made sure that every girl got the same amount of jumps so nobody's feelings got hurt. And then they brought the boys in.
All the boys jumped up on the trampoline at the same time, started jumping up and down, pushing each other off, and the last boy on the trampoline got the longest turn. As it should be, right, man?
Survival of the fittest.
We're different. Now, our favorite physical difference that affects relationships is this one, that when a man eats, the part of his brain that makes him happier gets stimulated. So a man is literally happier with himself, happier with life, more content, and a better listener right after he's eaten a meal. You ladies, on the other hand, when you share that same meal, the part of your brain that sharpens your eyesight becomes stimulated. You become more aware of your environment, and you have more to talk about. Like, this is the reason, folks, why so many good relationship memories get built around food. Like, families that eat meals together really do have better relationships because God wired us in such a way that food and relationships go together. Why do you think churches have food at a lot of their events? Makes the men happier, makes the women more tuned in. Like, we get it. It works. It actually should be part of your relationship strategy to work in meals because meals and relationships go together.
And it's also, this is a great study to know about, girls, because if you happen to like wreck your husband's car, then you should probably feed him his favorite meal first and then tell him about the car.
That's a good call. Well, now that we've introduced you to some of these differences, we want to show you a short video clip that shows how this might play out in an average home.
The day I have had, I've got to tell you about this. I'm going to go put my stuff up.
Honey, is that you?
So, I went out to lunch with Jenny and Amy, because, you know, we always go out to lunch every third Thursday of the month, unless, of course, that falls on Jenny's Pilates class, and we move it to the fourth Thursday of the month. Sometimes conflicts with my haircut appointment, but it didn't this time. So anyway, so Jenny drove, because she has this new truck. She wanted to see it. Jenny has a big four-wheel truck. I mean, it's so ridiculous. She's so petite, and she's in this big truck, but she drove. Anyway, so... So Jenny is freaking out. I mean, who wouldn't? Jenny is such a quiet person anyway. At the time, she wouldn't complain to the manager at Bennigan's because the waiter kept getting her order wrong anyway. So anyway, she was losing it over the phone with her husband about how could he be so absent-minded and forget their job at Cheeseburger Ed's. I mean, you have done some absent-minded things before, but... talking to her first. I mean, you would never do that. I told him that. And all of this over a bigger TV. Like a bigger TV. That she should get rid of the TV altogether, you know? She says... So, what do you think? Can we do it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
I knew you'd understand. You are such a good listener.
Oh yeah, hey is it all these rooms are being painted pink or just this one here?
Pays to be a good listener.
Well, folks, because we have a habit of approaching life differently, James 1:19 introduces us to the most important communication skill. Like if you're only going to work on one skill to improve communication, this is the one you want to work on. My dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Taking time to listen to one another is it'll give you the biggest return on relationships, because most of us are not skilled listeners. Most of us listen to the first 40% of what the other person has to say, and then we spend the rest of the time loading up our response, hoping they will stop talking so we can share our wisdom. But when you keep listening, it's amazing what you discover about one another. And Pam and I learned this one day, a very important day in our life, where I came home from work and I said, Pam, I've been thinking, and I just really think right now you're too busy.
Now I have a choice here. I can react, or I can repeat key phrases to draw them out, like I taught that college girl. And so I decided to repeat key phrases.
So yeah, I just think you're doing too much and you got too much going on and you're too busy right now.
So I'm too busy.
Well, it's not just that you're too busy, it's that life's kind of overwhelming to me right now, especially at work. Like I don't know why this is happening, but I'm kind of feeling like at work that I might fail there.
You feel like you might fail?
Yeah, like things are going well there, but do you remember I told you growing up, my mom, because she was afraid of everybody and everything, she used a lot of reverse psychology? Mm-hmm. And I heard it over and over again, you don't have what it takes, you're never going to be anything. I don't know, it's like her voice is in my office, like echoing around. For some reason, I'm afraid she might be right.
So, first, I'm so sorry, hon. Let me see if I'm tracking with you. You go to the office and, you're doing well.
Yeah,
but
things are going well at work. I shouldn't be having this fear.
But there's this talking voice from your mom that's in your office.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm so sorry. Is it a little bit remember I brought home my report card in 7th grade, and I told you that story? My report card said 100%, 100%, 100%, 99.9, and because it was 99.9, my dad, who had been drinking all day and all night, so Jack Daniels said, Pam, why isn't that 100?
Well, do you feel like if it had been 100, he still would have found something wrong with it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is just such a struggle. Nothing's going wrong at work. And I don't know why I can't shake this feeling that something's going to go wrong.
Oh, honey, I will pray.
Thanks. That was a very important day for Pam and I because we figured out part of our connection to each other is our common faith in Jesus. But part of our connection to each other is we recognized some of the pain we grew up around, and we believed that together we could do better. But this conversation could have looked a whole lot different if it had gone more like, Pam, I think you're too busy.
Remember, I have a choice. I can use those key phrases, or I can react. So what if I would have reacted? You think that I'm too busy? You think that I'm too
bring it
busy?
up.
Maybe it's because I'm like doing everything around this house. I'm driving your 3 boys around. I'm like cleaning. I'm cooking. I'm like working at your church. I'm writing books. Maybe if you would take out the trash, I wouldn't be so busy.
So can you imagine the argument we could have had over that discussion? Like we could have been in intense fellowship for a good week. And the amazing thing about it, folks, it's the same exact conversation.
The choice is always ours. The choice is always yours. Conflict or connection. When you choose to be a good listener, you gain the connection that you're looking for.
Right, and Pam and I could have easily lived in that drama because we both grew up in homes that shouldn't be repeated. But fortunately, along the way, through God's sovereignty, we both started a personal relationship with Jesus Christ that not only was transforming, but introduced us to the Bible, which has every principle you need to have successful relationships. So no matter where you've come from, no matter what your background is, there is hope because we have a living, powerful Savior.